Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is officially out. I did my spoiler-free review, and this one, expect a few spoilers so I can get my thought across. So, let's get to talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and why I think it's one of Marvel Studios' best. So not only does James Gunn round out his trilogy, he manages to set up another wave of films for Marvel Studios without compromising his story. Now, obviously, if you've seen the film, you know that all the members of the Guardians survive. They're just taken to different corners of the galaxy doing their new adventures. And how James Gunn was able to pull this off and still add so much emotion, make you doubt who was going to come out alive by the end, and multiple times had me either at the brink of tears and twice actually shedding tears, just shows off how much we care about these characters and how James Gunn can structure a story and moment-to-moment beats that wildly swing from some of the funniest MCU moments ever to literally some of the most depressing things they've ever done and shown on screen. And that, in my opinion, is the strength of this film. If you're going in expecting more Guardians the way you like them, the way you like their shtick and their emotional connection in terms of humor, you're getting that here. But on top of this, you're getting a emotional roller coaster that deals with family drama, family loss, that deals with personal grief, that deals with emotional whiplash and how that affects the entire team, including everybody's own personal standing, understanding, and respect for one another, and also what's going on. And all of this is, of course, set in motion with Rocket Raccoon getting badly injured. And we see that the Guardians, after the holiday special, are really kind of at each other's throats. And more or less all of them coming to realize by the end of the film, they need to find their own way separate from one another because they can't all just depend on each other when they're not a fully functioning unit and a team that still has a lot of self-doubts even though they are out for one another. It's a very complex film in terms of the family dynamic and the team, which I think is really offset well by putting Rocket in peril and having the Guardians go on this adventure to save him from the High Evolutionary. Now, the Evolutionary has been a source of content as, well, minor changes and or major changes to Marvel characters happen. And I will say in this, I think what they did with him is absolutely perfect. The way they tie him into various corners of the Marvel Universe, how long he's been around and what he's been doing, and the emotional payoff to seeing his story connect to Rocket and why Rocket remained so, let's just say, separated and almost on the outside of the group more than anybody else in terms of his emotional damage is really explored here. And we see literally and physically the torture he went through, but also the mental manipulation and what drives Rocket to be the character he is, the things he's seen, the PTSD that's inside him, and also why he plays so hard despite the fact that you can see that he has a heart and wants to care. It's all explored here with such beauty, and in terms of what James Gunn can do with talking animals, it's really next level here. I never thought that I would cry more seeing characters I've just grown accustomed to in this film than I would for the passing of Black Widow. I mean, they nail it here, and James Gunn really flexes his directing muscle. And while speaking about directing muscle, let's just say that this has some of the best and cleanest Marvel Studios action scenes we've seen to date, and they absolutely nail one particular action sequence that happens in a corridor, and it is a just extended long take shot, and it is shot so beautifully that I honestly think James Gunn wanted to do something so good for action in the MCU that a lot of films are going to have to try and figure out how to top this. I mean, it is a stellar action sequence. And what I love about this is that this is the big action sequence in the film. Because outside of it, when it comes to the final confrontation with the High Evolutionary, it literally almost doesn't exist. What I love about this, and one of the things I hated about Guardians 2, and I've been very vocal about this, all of us have, is that it just, at the end, sort of goes into Dragon Ball Z. Let's just fight each other with tons of unlimited power and explosions and throw each other through these rocks and things. This goes back to Guardians 1. It goes back to what I love about the team, the dynamic, and them using their smarts. Instead of something crazy happening, and for a second, I was legit about to walk out of the theater when I thought something was going to happen, because the High Evolutionary's standing there, and he's about to take on Rocket, and he's talked about how, you know, he's gotten so much better, and he's showing these powers where he can, like, rip things apart and almost, like, make elements come together. And I, for a second, legit thought he was going to, like, summon a mech suit or a bunch of stone around him and become giant. And they even tease that now Groot can become kaiju size. I legit thought they were just going to give us a big, bombastic, here you go, 2 giant monsters fighting each other. Nope. Instead, each Guardian delivers literally 1 shot, and then the High Evolutionary just goes down, and Rocket has a final moment of High Evolutionary looking at him as he's dying. It's beautiful. It doesn't need to be an action-packed, overstuffed, you know, bombastic action sequence with millions of ships, tons of action, everybody punching each other. It's not that. It is simplified for the sake of the story, and that's where the beauty came in the entire film. Everything feels like it needed to be there and tells you exactly what they're going for. Yes, there's some political messaging in this. Of course there is. That's expected. I've seen some people call that out. Honestly, it's good commentary on Earth. It really is, and that's what I loved about it. It's social commentary on the status of Earth and how, no matter how hard we try to fix it, maybe it can't be fixed. I love that that's what the High Evolutionary was trying to do, and he realizes, I just got to keep starting over. He has a god complex. It's absolutely just, it's a movie that I'm gonna talk about for a while. I cannot wait to talk more about this with the CBC guys and see what they thought and see what the fan base is thinking once the weekend is over, because I personally do not understand the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's one instance where I'm like, I don't get it. Were people just expecting more fun goofiness from the Guardians? Because you're not really getting that here. There's a degree of it, but this is a serious film. And they go to places I never thought the Guardians brand would. And to me, that's what makes this one of the MCU's best. It's up there. I would not be surprised if this makes many people's top 10 or top 5.